What's going on? What's going on? Live in the flesh. The topic tonight is Brokians are always going to be popular. Okay, in case you don't know what a Brokian is, it's a new word that I came up with. It's basically a person that is uh through their actions of not wanting to improve their life, improve their financial footing. They're destined to be broke for the rest of their life. That's a Brokian. And a lot of people are Brokians. A lot of people definitely are Brokians. They're always going to be Brokians. Is always going to be people that are popular, probably even more popular than you, and they are in fact a Brokian. In society, the economists of old, um, they called these people proletarians, and that was the name of basically people that make up the populace, that are basically just commoners, common people. That is what in a simple definition of what a proletarian is. Basically a permanent member of the working class. So those are the people that these are people that these are friends, these are family members, might even be your children, you know, just general people that they make up a couple things. They lack ownership. They're constant renters. You tell them, hey, why don't you let me show you how to get into tech. They just like it, just in one ear, out the other. And they just, like the picture of this thumbnail is actually me. That was when was that? That picture was taken when I was working in a warehouse. That it was a company that they deal with flooring, like rugs, tile, laminate flooring of all sorts, wood flooring. It's in Itasca. It's an old company, and I worked in that warehouse back in, like, I think that was like 2000, and I want to say 2023. It was back when I was like out of work, and I was looking for work, and I found myself back into the warehouse. And I was it was a dark time. I talked about it, back, years ago. Um it was a pretty dark time. It was rough. Um, you know, it was a tough situation. But what I know now versus what I didn't know back then was the reason that I was doing all of these things was I just wasn't really tapping into things that were available. Like, for example, again, back to technology, you have basically an AI boom that is going on right now, an absolute AI boom. Basically, AI has the potential to help the man that or woman that is basically maybe struggle with lack of education, lack of know-how, even just lack of information, lack of data. Like AI has the potential to help you platform yourself a lot easier than, let's just say, before AI. And people not tapping into it. People using When you ask someone, hey, do you deal with AI? To them, you saying it's like like AI to them is making some funny videos and pictures. And it's like, yeah, that is AI. AI does do that, has the potential to do that and more, but that's just one part of it. Creating media is just one part of it. You know, I mean, you could use AI to actually create an app. Like I'm talking about an app to like publish to the App Store or Android and actually make income off of, like, literally. Like that's what I'm talking about. Not talking about creating memes and fucking pictures and thumbnails and uh little comical videos of fat people doing various tasks and all kinds of stuff or whatever. So it's gonna always be more people that are, basically Brokians. The society is set up that way because basically it's kind of hard to get out of your class. Okay, let's just talk about class in general, right? So if your parents are middle class, is like a 50% chance that you'll also be middle class. It's also another thing is a lot of people are, and this is gonna probably blow your mind. When you listen to this, you'll know who you talking to and where you at. Did you know more than 50% of people live like within like 50 miles of their birthplace? Yeah, I kid you not. Most people live literally like within 50 miles of their birthplace. If you really think about it, like most people don't even just like they don't like switch states or they don't like, you know, move anywhere in a new location. They stay right near to where they were born. Like most people, and yeah, it's just people are creatures of habit. And habit breeds comfortability, and comfortability breeds habit. And basically, uh that's what people do. They live near comfortable surroundings where they're used to. And it's, understandably, it is hard to go somewhere else. Like, I'm not talking about like going to the military is a little bit, it is hard, but you can do it. A lot of people have done it. I've done it. But the military is a little easier because you're taken care of. You're funded, you have an income and also a place to live that's basically supplied by the government, even if it's sleeping on a ship. I was in the Navy, I slept on the ship. I did not have housing, or BAH, I think they call it, basically basic housing allowance, or BHA. Uh because you had to be married to have that benefit. All the single guys had to sleep on the ship. You had to live on the ship. The married guys, they could get money to pay for an apartment off base. Or if they can get an apartment on base or a place on base that was available, they would get that. So yeah, it's a little easier to do that with the military. People also go away to go to college, but then it's also harder to do that because depending on how much money you have, as far as if you have any scholarships or anything, if you don't, it's kind of hard to go to school when you don't have a lot of money and resources. And then you feel kind of homesick. You feel homesick when you're away from your surroundings and the people that you grew up with and the people that you know and your mom, your grandparents, and your dad and your siblings and stuff like that. So that also plays a role in that. But um you grow up, as far as the class thing, you grow up seeing your parents earn a living. You see what they do, you see the mistakes that they do, and you kind of get comfortable in that class system. Your parents almost train you to be just like them. Almost people mimic their parents, so that's why it's hard to get out of that. And also it's hard because you're dealing with the same issues that your parents had, and that's lack of money, lack of financial resources. Your parents, and a lot of people's parents, they had to dealing with whatever they had, doing the best they can with whatever they had. And from that, you grew up seeing that. You grew up watching your parents work with whatever they had. And they didn't really have a lot, and definitely didn't have surplus 9 times out of 10. So you grow up, you learn the things that your parents did, and you see the habits that they've done, and you mimic some of those habits. And the bigger point is you also don't have any financial resources because your parents never, in most cases, had any financial resources themselves. So when they passed away, they didn't leave any financial surplus or resources for you. So it's like a cycle that recontinues. So that's why most people have the same class as their parents. So the thing is that economics is very heavily controlled. Economic systems are controlled systems. Nobody probably hardly tells you that, you not told that, but economic systems are heavily controlled. United States is no different. It's a economically controlled system. Uh, they're trying to reverse the levers. I mean, I've noticed since Trump has been in office in his second term, there are some pushes that are happening and also in the works. Like, for example, the trading PDT rule. The PDT rule is already in the process of basically being changed. I don't think they're eliminating the PDT rule, but what I think they're going to do is they're going to change the requirements of the PDT rule. Currently is 25K. I think they're going to lower it. Lower it. I don't know what they're going to lower it to, but I believe it's going to be less than 25,000. Don't know exactly what the price will be, but I believe it's going to be less than 25,000. I'll be surprised if they actually raise the PDT rule. Or even more surprised if they actually eliminate completely the PDT rule. Like, for example, you could trade Forex and crypto till your eyes is blue in the face. They don't have PDT rules in crypto or Forex. You can get in and out of those markets anytime you want. Stock market, you have to have the PDT rule requirements, which is 25,000 in order to get in and out of stocks, aka day trade. And that's that. That is a form of economic control. That is just one form of economic control. So it's very difficult, especially for people that don't really have a lot of financial resources to circumvent that economic control. You have to be very, very, very determined, and you have to have almost a system to counter that system. Meaning you have to have some type of financial um system of your own to actually have some type of financial success. The basic stuff is what you'll learn in any book or what I talk about as well, having a budget, basically money management. I mean, hell, the three M's is, enough. Mindset, money management, and momentum. But the basics of all of that is having a budget, having some type of savings, an investment strategy, having some type of financial uh, system. Okay. Money comes in, you put your money in your bills. Some people use some type of formula, whatever that is, whatever you're comfortable with, that is your financial system. Okay. People weren't taught this. People were taught, just work hard and pay your bills and be responsible as much as you possibly can. That's generally what people are taught growing up. You need to do more than that to actually um overcome the economic control that is in this country. You'd have to have a certain level. I will say from historically, because I read a lot. I've read a lot about different books. I mean, like Rich Dad Poor Dad, The Millionaire Next Door, The Richest Man in Babylon, uh all kinds of books. I got books on books on books, stacks of books, and just totes. I have books on my PDF drive. I've probably got like 5,000 books on my PDF drive that I haven't even read. Some of them I might have already read, very few. But the whole point is you have to have some type of system to overcome this system, this system of capitalism. And a lot of people really don't have a system. And also, you add, um, people are not necessarily frugal either, which frugality does work. Being frugal does, historically speaking, it is a strategy that does work. It's kind of a strategy very similar to minimalism. It's kind of related to minimalism, but not really. But what a lot of people do, and this is also, it's like you stabbing yourself in the back, you stabbing your own self in the back. What people do is they just work, and then, basically, what's going on, my brother, man? What's up? Um, they work, and then they, play, and then they spend money, buy clothes, and they spend their money, right? Well, that's kind of doubling down on the problem, because the problem, originally, was a lack of thereof. Basically, a lack of financial resources. So when money comes in, and then money going out real quick, and you're buying, after your bills is paid, or maybe you might even, like, put a bill aside or two, then you go out, spend money, buy clothes and all kinds of different goods, and you trying to treat yourself. Well, you're not looking at it like it's do or die. You're not looking at it like it's serious, and to some people, people that are truly frugal, like me, I'm not really like, being frugal is almost like being a nerd. Like, you have to, it's a personality. Some would even say, damn near, it's a personality disorder, because you have people that are so frugal that they take 2 minute showers. They take 2 minute hot showers. Um, they live off of rice cakes and ramen noodles. Like, that extreme, that's an extreme version of frugality that it just doesn't necessarily, I'm not that extreme with it. I do some extreme things. I am frugal to a certain extent. But I'm willing to do things maybe even somebody that's probably frugal wouldn't do, like buy a bando, fix it up, and live in it, while I'm trying to fix it up and renovate it. Like, most people wouldn't do that. I mean, most people are, they like creature comforts, they like, everything pretty much comfortable and laid out. But, the thing is that frugality does work. In my opinion, it does have a habit of working, because you maximize savings by being frugal. And from that savings, if you, like, for example, you put it into, dividend stocks, or some type of ETF or fund, like S&P 500, or, for example, you do things with that money to make more money. I don't even care. I'm be honest with you. I mean, I don't recommend it, but some people, some people buy a pound of weed. You know, I mean, it's like, I'm not trying to tell nobody what to do or not to do, but I mean, some people, man, it's a dude called the Money Man. You probably, or I think he called himself the Money Man, or Money Man, or something. I don't know, but he's a rapper from Atlanta, and he's a hood ghetto, rapper, and he talks about how the things that he was doing before he kind of like made a whole bunch of money or whatever. And basically he was a weed man. He was a basically so dope. And part of that was he sold a lot of weed. And he also did credit card fraud and stuff like that. But that's not necessarily, that's kind of like going into um that's going into like the underworld or illegal activities to earn a living, which a lot of people do. I was, I mean, I ain't gonna tell you where I was. I'm not gonna tell you where I was, but I was basically taking out the trash, right? I'll just say I was just taking out the trash, in the bathroom, emptying out the trash, right? Um, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, damn, you know, um, black people, primarily black men, are the face of people that steal, right? And I'm a finance guy, right? This one of many things I am is a finance guy. I mean, I'm also a tech guy, right? But a finance bro, and finance and tech does intertwine a little bit, quite a bit. I don't even want to say a little bit. It does. And I do know, obviously, anybody in finance knows that a lot of white collar criminals um are white men and also women. And they steal a lot of money. They commit a lot of white collar crime. And it really doesn't get marketed because white people really don't like negative publicity. They try to avoid it. If you notice news articles, they never hardly ever put the face of who did what, right? If it's a white person, right? It'll just be text with like, some type of picture on the article. But, somebody stole, $15 million from some real estate clients. And it just so happened to be a 38-year-old white man from probably the Northeast corridor somewhere. And nobody really makes a big deal out of it. They gotta go, the guy gets convicted, he goes to federal prison, and he at the end of the day, he stole $15 million, which is a lot more than some black dude that, basically stole couple $100 from some convenience store. But the person that is the face of a thief or a criminal is the black guy that stole $300 from a convenience store, or even it could be a whole group of them, and it still wouldn't amount to $15 million. But white folks steal more than that, plus more, in the billions, right? You look at Bernie Madoff. You look at the guy from FX, the platform, the crypto platform. Um, he stole, I think, like, I want to say, damn, I have to look up how much he stole, because I forgot. I mean, he basically was using that money as his personal ATM. Uh, but this is just one example of many, right? Just one example of many. And I say, like, you know, say all of this because um these people technically were doing underworld activities. They were committing fraud of a publicly ran company, and they were getting away with it for a long time, and then they finally got caught, but the damage was already done. So it's kind of like, to a certain extent, what I'm saying is some people do um they do certain things like almost like a pirate, because they already know the system is very heavily controlled. You either have it or you don't, and they do what they do uh black market activities, um illegal activities to maintain or even get that capital. In the case of Sam Bankman Fried, um he basically stole $8 billion. See, if I just would have just, I thought he only stole like 500 million or something like that. I didn't I didn't know it was I forgot it was $8 billion. Okay, so again, they're not the face of criminals because it's bad marketing for white people. So they don't even look at it like, okay, um, it's a big deal. But it is. $8 billion is a big deal. Some of these people, I wasn't really into crypto, so I saw the FTX commercials. I mean, it was pretty big. They had celebrities doing these commercials. They had Tom Brady doing these commercials for FTX. FTX was marketing pretty heavy for people to sign up for this crypto platform, very similar to Coinbase. And basically what it was based off of fraud. Sam Blankman and others were stealing the corporate funds from the company, from their account holders. So it's the equivalent of, okay, you put a whole bunch of money in PayPal, but PayPal is spending your money, defrauding its own customers, basically taking the money out of its clients' accounts, and having sexcapades and yacht parties and stuff like that. And no one finds out until basically the bill gets due, and it's a corporate audit or something like that, and then the FTC comes in and all of these different federal jurisdictions, and then you find out something is going on. But the whole point is, that's what some people do. They do illegal things to make money. Now, selling weed doesn't necessarily, in my opinion, affect anyone. You're not stealing from anyone. You're not harming anyone. If you're stealing from your account holders, you're definitely harming people. You're putting people hard earned money in jeopardy, basically stealing it from them. Okay. So, but the thing is, if you get caught with 2 pounds of weed, you probably going to get more time than someone that stole $15 million from some old people uh with real estate transactions, because society doesn't care about your poor black ass, primarily. Even white, even Hispanic. If you're, it's a, that's why I call it, white collar crime. Like, white collar crime, believe it or not, is less sentenced as far as years and stuff like that than some crimes that you would think, damn, okay, you still $300 from a liquor store, you get 2 years in prison, and then some guy he steals $2.5 million from the bank he works at, and he gets 2 years probation, and then he has to pay restitution. He basically has to pay back a certain amount of money in restitution, and that's it. And he's got a criminal record and all of that type of stuff. And it's like, damn. Well, you think, right? I should have just worked for a bank. It's took 2.5 million, from the bank, because you know what the hell, right? But the thing is that you know the hard part is you have to work for a bank. You have to get in the bank, and that's kind of difficult. The banks don't just hire anybody off the street. They hire a certain type of person, and also the banking systems and different financial jobs. You have to do obviously extensive background checks, drug tests, and also some of those jobs require a credit report. And the credit report is based off of you getting hired or not. Your credit is like trash, you probably won't get the job. They do that with certain financial services jobs. They look at your credit report. So yeah, this system, as well as other systems, are heavily controlled, or the word is gate kept. And trying to deal with trying to gain financial resources under very stiff economic control is kind of difficult. It's not necessarily easy, especially if you don't really have that much to work with from the start. You don't have any funds from your parents to help you upstart, right? Like Elon Musk, like Mark Zuckerberg, like Bill Gates, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's very, very difficult if you are, basically on a lower rung in a society, class wise, to actually have some type of upstart. And then you add the habits of your parents, and spending money, maxing out credit cards, living check to check. You carry on those habits, it's even more harder to deal with trying to have some type of comeuppance in this society. So from all of that, yeah, uh, it solidifies a person to be a Brokian, a lifelong Brokian that works, spends all his money or her money on, booze, clothes, cars, jewelry, trips, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you're living a borrowed lifestyle to add. So it's like you weren't taught this, but I'm teaching you now. You're setting yourself up for failure. Um, because you got to understand, one, you're making earned income. Earned income is the hardest income to earn or make, and it's the most like volatile income you can make because it's based off of you actually being gainful employed. And also, in order to be gainfully employed, you got to do certain things, such as kind of in a certain sense be a people pleaser. You have to please your bosses to continue to be to continue to be employed. You have to, do what is required to keep that employment. Earn income, you will believe, like some people will believe that earned income is the only income that you can actually make. And that's just one form of income. And it's the hardest income to actually earned income. But people are taught that that's the only way to actually make a living is earn income. So that's what people do. And when they make that money, that earn income, it they double down on the hardness of or hardship by living a borrowed lifestyle. And what I mean by, you probably already know what I mean by a borrowed lifestyle. Basically, you're buying everything off future earnings. So, okay, when you work a job because you don't really make enough, it's not like they, okay, if you make 70 grand a year, it's not like they're just going to give you the 70 grand a year and you promise them that you're going to keep going to work. That's not how that works, right? So you're getting small parts of you have to the requirement for you to get that income is you have to continue to keep working, showing up to get that income every week or 2 weeks or whatever, right? So you borrowing money from credit cards, car loans, mortgages, you're you're basically telling creditors, I make this amount of money and I'm going to pay you off of possible few, because you can get fired anytime. That's the hard thing about earned income. You can get fired anytime. I can get fired anytime. Anybody can, especially right if you look like a box of chocolate, right? You know, you can get easily let go, right? So you're basing your future prospects of getting a paycheck for paying for these obligations that you borrowed from. So now now you're in the same situation your parents are in. Your parents were doing this, you saw your parents do this your whole life. You didn't see anything else. So now you're working, you're working hard, and then you're making this amount of money, and then also you're paying creditors before you even get the money. You're taxed and you're paying creditors for some type of lifestyle based off of the possibility that you're going to continuously get this paycheck. This is the reality that some people take out some type of pew pew, and they just be like, you know what? And then they do what they do. Because this is misery. This is a miserable existence to a certain extent. And I will say it is. I don't recommend you take any pew pew and do anything, but what I'm trying to tell you is this is like something that you were taught that is acceptable. As you taught that it was acceptable because you saw your parents do it. But I'm trying to tell you that the reality is your parents just didn't know any better. They didn't know any other recourse. This is what they probably saw, or even worse, what their parents did. And they're just doing it or trying to do it better than their previous parents. Their parents might have lived in a shack somewhere down south or whatever, and they worked hard, to build a better life for their children. And then they're working, trying to build a better. And it's like they still want to have fun. They still want to try to look good, and they're going out shopping. They're going to get cars every 5 years, 4 years. They're going, living their life, right? And they don't have really a lot of money to really live the life that they really want to, or they don't know how to. They don't know how to save and budget really well, or invest. Right? My mom didn't invest. My dad didn't invest. My dad played horses, played lotto. My mom, she worked as a tutor after school sometimes to make extra income, and then she spent her money on clothes and shoes and accessories and paying bills. Okay. So the thing is that that's what a lot of people do. And they're not taught anything different. And it's not even taught. It has to go beyond teaching. You almost have to use some type of hypnosis or meditation, deep level of concentrated meditation or deep thought or something to basically unprogram and dehypnotize yourself to do something totally different. Because I can honestly tell you, if you continue to live your life this actual way, you'll be a Brokian, just like you saw your parents be Brokians for the rest of their life. God's honest truth. Mark my words. You're not hearing anything different that you would hear from anybody else. I'm not making this up. It's very easily done. People do it every single day. It's nothing different. It's just this is how this system is. This is very you're basically being ruled over by highly controllable individuals that also to a certain extent believe that you're, some type of ant on an ant farm, and you didn't know all of this. You just think, whatever. You don't even think about it, right? You probably saw movies and all kinds of shit or whatever. But you got to understand, when you look at the wealth distribution of the wealthy way up top, their life is totally different than you all the way at the bottom, earning income and having to borrow to actually live a lifestyle that you want to live. Because let's be honest, like, people don't live like me, obviously. People are not living like the bro genius or, you know, Abdul, the author of Millionaire Savings Plan. They're not doing that. They're not going to go buy a bando because they're trying to stick it to uh basically capitalism by not getting a mortgage. Like, no, there's very few people that do this. Like, you find people that do this in Detroit, you find people that do this different parts of the country, but very few people that are just fucking anarchists to a certain extent. And it's like, you know what? I see what the mortgage thing is. I'm gonna easily stick it to the man. That's what they call it back in the 70s and 60s, sticking it to the man, right? Well, my way to stick it to the man is, you know what? I know this mortgage system, this financial system. I know the tricks. So I can circumvent the mortgages by just buying properties, right? Cash. right? Or buying contracts, long-term contracts like 5 years, 10 years, 2 years. And then I could buy a house that way. And I can avoid having to get a mortgage because the mortgages, uh, yeah, it's kind of difficult, dealing with that, right? You got to have a place to live, right? But the thing is this: I wouldn't even trip about a mortgage too much, but I don't like the thing is that the car situation is kind of weird because it shows that absolutely that you are not taught, that you are like a lot of people, the reason why they're Brokians is because they do Brokian behavior. And buying a car at a car dealer for a 5 year, 6 year, or longer uh basically payment arrangement is Brokian behavior. And I'll break it down. And I know I just stole on the entire United States, just cock back, playa, just hit, all of the Americans in the jaw. But you gotta understand, most people, I ain't say nothing hardly about it's shit, it's more white Brokians in this country than any other demographic in the world. I mean, in this country. It's because there's more white people. You know, it actually is very difficult if you don't have money to not be a Brokian. That's basically what I'm saying. Like this system is designed for you to be a Brokian. I hands down, hands down. God the honest truth. All you got to do to be a Brokian is just continue. If you're already, dealing with financial lacking, all you got to do is just continue to do what you do. You'll be on autopilot to be a Brokian because that's the how this system is actually designed. So when it comes to and then people are brainwashed. That's the reason people do what they do because they're absolutely brainwashed. Okay, like literally, my channel, most of my channel is anti propaganda. What I'm talking about right now is actually anti propaganda because you'd have to be brainwashed or stupid to actually go out knowing that you don't really have money, knowing that you come from a family that don't have money, and you go and get car note after car note. I'm not talking about you just get one nice car and that's what you like. That's fine. I get that. But it's people that my mom used to do this. Car breaks down after okay, she get a car. It's a 5 year car payment. Car start breaking down on the third year or fourth year. She go trade it in, go get another 5 years. All of that money gone. Okay. Uh she didn't start actually buying cars cash until she started getting older and she started seeing her genius son buy cars for cash and not have a car payment. Then she got her, she started buying cars from used car lots and not getting car payments. Okay, but the thing is that most of her life, her adult life, she was getting car payment after car payment every like a cycle, like every 5 years. And you got to understand or overstand that this is something that you can definitely control because you don't need a fucking brand new car or a nice used car with a $70,000 car balance. You don't need to do that. It's absolutely avoidable. The mortgage thing, I don't fault anybody for having a mortgage. I would even say that I would even get a mortgage. I would try to get the best possible deal that I could possibly get. But cars, I don't understand cars because to me, cars are fucking avoidable. Who gives a fuck if the car auto market collapsed like 2008? I don't give a shit. It's not my problem. I don't have to go out to support the economy and get car payments, get car loans. It's not my problem. Now, the thing is some people can actually, I would even say, afford car payments. Very few people I can say can actually afford car payments. I mean, like, not few people, but it's not a lot of people that can afford car payments. In the sense of what I'm saying, can afford car payments, that basically they make enough to where the car payment is not that big of a deal. And they could also put down a hefty down payment. They got a good credit score, so the interest rate will be low. Okay, I could understand that. Now you're talking more, you making more sense. But what I'm talking about is the average Brokian. The average Brokian is going to go because they're trying to impress their friends and peer group and people in society because they're broke, and they want to, a lot of what broke people do is they try to not look broke also while being broke. I've done it. I've done it before. I understand. I understand the logic. But what you do is you're you're buying something that you're adding to your borrowed lifestyle that you're, you know, forced to live because you don't have financial resources. You're doubling down on it. It's just an added burden to your financial profile. Okay. That doesn't, you don't need it. All you need is like five or 10 grand. You can go buy a car. You can buy a car. Get a warranty service, pay, for a warranty coverage, and then ride it till the wheels fall off. But what people do, the average Brokian, they go out, they put a down payment, they get their credit ran. Usually their credit is terrible. So then the finance manager comes back, or they work out a deal with the bank, or whatever loan company that they get approvals from, and the interest rate is like 20 something percent or even higher. And then they work out this deal to you to where you got to just put down $1,000, or maybe you don't even put down anything, maybe 500. I don't know. And then now you have a 5-year, 6-year car payment on a used car. Looks nice. I give you that. And you're doing it because everybody else is doing it. All the other Brokians are doing it, and other people that don't need a car note, they driving these cars or whatever. And there you go. Now you got a bill that you don't need, and an added credit file that you don't need, and just to drive a car to wherever you're going, most likely work and back, right? Uh, that is just kind of that just how that starts. It's just, and then you just, that type of mindset, then you add, let's move along, you add credit cards. So you're not using these credit cards to buy properties. You're not like Andy buy houses. Andy buy houses, he buys lots. He talks about buying lots, getting hard money to basically uh um build new construction and then financing the rest with credit cards. You're not doing the Andy buy houses play. No, you're going to Saks Fifth Avenue, Bloomingdale's, Neiman Marcus, Macy's, Burlington Coat Factory, TJ Maxx, so on and so on. And you're buying clothes, you're buying all kinds of shit with a fucking credit card. And then you're maxed out on your credit files or your credit cards off of fucking shit that is it's just basically clothes and shit. And it's even more unnecessary. It's totally unnecessary. I'm gonna tell you, as a person that has basically been a real estate investor for quite a while now, I can honestly tell you, walking into properties that are usually these are abandoned properties that some investor owns. You know what's in these properties a lot of times? Clothes and shit. Yeah, literally clothes and shit. That's what's in them. A bunch of people left a whole bunch of clothes and little knickknacks and all kinds of different stuff because they were financially distressed and they could not move the shit. They couldn't move it. They got all these clothes and stuff, and they had to take probably whatever they could and put it in their car. And they didn't have a big enough car to put everything in, so they left all that shit. And they spent money on that. They spent money on all of those clothes and shoes that is left. Like I've seen houses that were filled with clothes and shoes and furniture and all kinds of stuff. And they just couldn't take the stuff with them. But they bought it. They bought it, whether it be credit cards or the cash or whatever, and they left that stuff behind. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna keep it all the way to 100 with you. I'm not. I'm. This ain't this a no cap channel. No cap. The house that I just recently sold, first house I ever sold in my life. I left all kinds of shit in that house. I left all kind. I mean, some of the stuff I left because I knew the person that bought it was gonna need it, and it was like, okay, well, they probably gonna need ladders, and I mean, I left the riding lawnmowers. I had a riding mower that it stopped working for whatever reason. It wasn't working about a month before I sold the house. Um, I left a whole bunch of shit in that house that was worth money that I spent money on. I would even say I probably left, if I had to guess the amount of money that I left in that house, I would probably say about $5,000 of certain like stuff that I probably the amount of money that I spent. I mean, some of the stuff I sold on Facebook Marketplace before I sold the house because I already knew. I mean, I was getting ready to move and everything. So I did, get some money from some things, some bigger ticket items, but some of the stuff that was left, a lot of the stuff that was left over was little small stuff that I bought. I even left my pellet gun. I didn't take my pellet gun with me. I mean, I took my pew pews, but I ain't take my pellet gun. I left my pellet gun. I spent almost $200 on that pellet gun. I mean, I bought it just to basically I had to call some groundhogs that was on my property because they were going, digging tunnels and shit under the house and all kinds of stuff. So I was able to to shoot about three or four of them. There was a couple left over, and I just kind of stopped the bloodshed, but because I was like already moving and everything. But Yeah, my whole point is, yeah, I even did this shit. I left a whole bunch of shit in that house. What they did with it, I don't know. He probably had to get a dumpster and put a whole bunch of stuff in there because that house, the basement, the basement was full with shit. And then I'm sure they didn't like all of that furniture that I had left over. Some of that stuff, a lot of that stuff, they just left. They just threw in the probably had to get a dumpster. But the whole point is that these things are not valuable. You know, you think that it's so nice, and money grows on trees, and money comes to me effortlessly and all of that. And it's like, well, if it does, why do you go to work then? If it comes to you so effortlessly, why do you go to work then? Because people that have money to get money effortlessly, they don't work. A lot of those people are extremely well to do and rich, and they don't work. And you can get to a point where, yeah, money comes to you effortlessly, and you get it and you make more of it, and it just continues on. Like, you can't have that can't work for you. That's why people come to this country, because you can make money like that, and the money does hold value. The dollar still remains, it's like one of the top currencies in the world, still to this day. So it does retain its value, right? So the thing is that, yeah, that's the whole idea, like what I was saying earlier with the AI, and creating an app and stuff like that. If you create an app that solves a problem that a lot of people have, they'll pay a subscription for that app, and you can use AI to help you create that app. If you really need help, just get you if you got a friend that knows how to code, maybe you could get him to be, maybe you're like CTO, to help you with all of the technology issues that you're gonna have, or help you, basically with the technical stuff. You know, you could do that, right? And then once it's a dude. I was watching this on YouTube. It's an 18-year-old white boy, Jewish boy in New York, that created an app that basically you take a picture of food, and it tells you the actual nutritional value for that food, so you can, basically help you count calories. Dude makes millions of dollars a year. And he's only 18 years old. He probably just made 19. Now that's what I'm talking about when it comes to, like, you can actually like solve a problem, or have some type of way to make money, not based off of earning income, more or less profit from business profit. You can make money effortlessly. He living with his parents, driving a Lambo. You know what I'm saying? Got a Lambo in his garage. He only 18 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't do that. You come up with some type of system to where you got some type of service that you offer, or you got some type of platform, or you selling some stuff or whatever. Yeah, you could make that, you could turn that scenario into reality. That's what I'm working on. I'm not gonna necessarily tell you what I'm working on. Maybe I might tell you after. I kind of already did tell. Like, if you listen to, like, probably my live streams from the last month or so, I've already said what I do, or what I'm working on. That is kind of making me some money, and I'm trying to, like, kind of, keep tweaking it and stuff like that to continue to make money, and scale up. But I might say something more about it if I, like, kind of scale up a little bit more, to where, like, is something that's really, really a big deal. I might say something in, but right now, so I'm only making like a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there. I haven't made no big money yet. So if I start making like some big money, I might say something like, okay, basically this is what I'm doing. But basically, what I will say this basically is I'm doing what I'm saying. I'm walking like I'm talking, right? I'm preaching like I'm teaching, right? I'm doing the same thing. I'm using AI to come up with some type of code to solve a problem, and I'm making money off of it. And then I'm in the process of scaling that. So that's in a nutshell. Not going into serious detail. That's what I'm doing. Okay. Technology is still new as far as computer technology. Computer technology is old. It goes back to like the 1950s and 40s. But that's fairly new. Okay. Modern technology is very new. Right now, the internet is only what the internet is old, but the modern internet is only 20 years old. So it's a lot to be added to it. It's a lot you can do with it, right? That it's still a lot you can add to it, right? So the thing is this. The whole point is what I'm saying is it is a way that you can get out of this. But the system is designed unfortunately for you and me to be lifelong Brokians. And if you're not careful enough to take certain measures of your life to uh, uh um just kind of position yourself to have some type of financial system for yourself, you most likely will continue to be a broken because the system is designed for you to be that. I mean, basically, cost of living is going up right now because there's it's a lot of inflation going on. So a lot of your money, it's taking a lot more money to buy things than it did before, than it did years prior, right? So you got to spend money. You don't have any other way out of that, right? And the thing is that what I'm saying is people do things to make it more harder than what it should be. Like you already know that they're not trying to pay you that much money generally, unless you can like get really creative or you get kind of lucky. I would even say, and you can get some type of high paying position or something like that. So the money that you do make, you gotta, pay for some place to live, you gotta pay for food, you gotta pay for, the general things that people pay for expenses for cost of living. That's already a given. Okay. What I'm saying is what people do is it's kind of like doubling down on stupid. And they already know they don't really have that much. And then they go out and they go try to buy cars and the whole spread, cars, clothes, luxury items, so on and so forth, off of the earned income one. And it's like they don't have a surplus of it as well. It's not like it's not like I'm talking about people that they have a whole bunch of money. These are people that are living check to check, that are living are spending these that have these borrowed accounts. Okay. Credit cards maxed out, car payments, and also a rental lease, long-term rental lease, or a mortgage, which in my opinion, renting is temporary. Long-term renting is not a solution. That's just not a solution. You just, paying to live in some box somewhere. It's not a long-term solution. You This country, this society is based off of asset ownership. The wealthy own assets. That's how and then a lot of times they have so much assets, they make money off of their assets. That's where the landlord comes in, right? They have so many assets that they're able to rent these assets out to people that need a place to live, and they make money off of rent payments every month. That's how that system goes. That's how that goes. So when you make a decision to be a lifelong renter or a long-term renter, you're basically saying to yourself, and not even knowing it, is that you want to be a lifelong peasant. This is what, and it's actually worse than being a peasant, because the peasants of Europe, they used to actually make money off of the land, and they would have to pay something to their landlords or lords, right, of the land, right, and they'd have to give them a certain amount of grain, certain amount of livestock, whatever, but they were making money. This is actually, being a lifelong renter is actually worse, because you're not necessarily, uh unless you're running a fucking brothel out of your apartment, you're not making any money from the apartment per se. You're just living somewhere. It's a place that you live, so, and you have to endlessly play. And here's the thing. I don't really know that much about, um Einstein said basically, uh the concept of infinite, um infinite interest, I believe it was called, or actually, compound interest, is like the ninth wonder of the world. Well, I understand compound interest in a general sense, but I don't, it's kind of hard to do in the markets. But in real estate, it's very easy. Just have a property and just own it, and then rent it out. You could rent it out for all your life. And then you could pass it on to your children. They could own it for their life. Then it could keep going. It's infinity. And it's like, this is why, capitalism hurts a lot of people that don't understand what capitalism is, that doesn't understand how the system works and how you circumvent it. Primarily, how you circumvent it. You kind of have to know how it works in order to circumvent it. So, in a nutshell, when you become a lifelong renter or a long-term renter, you're not circumventing the system. You're making these rich people richer and wealthier. Okay. And the thing is that, for whatever reason, you're taught to do that. You were taught that these are just these rich people, and I have to work for them, and I'll have some fun when I get off, but then I have to go back to work, and then I have to pay bills, and that's it. That's what you were taught. That's what you were programmed to think. And I'm not saying anything about no race. I've mentioned a little bit about race when I talked about white collar crime, but this is all people. This doesn't have any color to it. I'm speaking to everybody. I'm like, damn near, proud to be an American. Like, this is like every fucking body in this country I'm speaking to in this regard, because it's like I say, there's more white people that are quote unquote Brokians than anybody because it's more of them. Like they're not all balling out of control. I don't care how much the image, know image damage control that they do on a day-to-day basis. I mean, it's a lot of white people that are struggling. You go to all you got to do is go to the rural parts of your state. If you really want to do some research, go to Kentucky, West Virginia. You'll see some shit. You'll probably you think you're in another fucking country or some shit, in a third world country or something. So the thing is that uh you just weren't educated, and you were brainwashed to believe that you're supposed to work and pay bills and not challenge the status quo. That was what you were taught, and it's like, also, no one hardly is trying to has the courage or the know-how to teach you anything else. So every time, people, you have channels on YouTube that are designated for entertainment purposes, or their niche is relationship talk, and that's all they talk about is relationship talk. And it's like, it's more harder things than a relationship. I've you'll be surprised. Like, it's so easy to get women, in my mind, compared to uh getting wealthy or rich. That is just almost laughable. It's easier to maintain a relationship because it's kind of very simple. In hindsight, like, a lot of it was, you kind of picked the wrong person from the start. There's a particular type of person, there's a particular type of woman that you will not have that much problems with versus other women that will give you a bunch of problems. And I talk a lot in detail about that. I talk about relationship stuff all regularly. I break it down to a science. There's subprime women and there's prime women. Subprime women, they're going to put you in a trick bag. They're going to, you're going to have problems most likely in a relationship. Prime, not as much. Prime women, not as much, right? So the thing is that, yeah, relationship stuff, okay, yeah, okay, that's fine. But there's more deeper underlying issues, such as there's class issues in America. There's financial issues in America. Americans are suffering from financial distress. That's more of a problem than she doesn't like me, or she doesn't do this, or I can't do this with her, or I want this particular type of woman. To be honest, if you got enough money, just get you a passport, fly the fuck on up out of here. You just go fly up out of here. Shit, you go somewhere, hey, women are, they basically uh train women from childhood to, cater to men. You go there, go to the Philippines, go to Indonesia, go to Malaysia, go to, oh, you don't like, Asians are not your cup of tea. Okay, probably can go to fucking, oh, you like European women, go to Hungary, go to um Germany or somewhere, uh Italy, Greece. You could go somewhere else if you got enough money to um go work for an airline company right now. There's flights going in and out 24/7, 7 days a week. Go somewhere else if you got the means to do so, right? Financial resources, gaining financial resources, having some type of financial system where you're financially thriving is way more harder than a fucking relationship, or having a relationship, or having women, having a woman, whatever. It's way easier than having a surplus of financial resources. because women are not necessarily, even though they're, brainwashed and stuff like that too, they're not, women are not necessarily gate kept like that. We're not in Afghanistan or Saudi Arabia where they actually, those places, they gatekeep women. Islam itself, they basically, to a certain extent, they gatekeep women to a certain extent. Women are heavily gate kept. Okay. I mean, it's not, it's not that type of situation in America. Okay. It used to be a situation like that, maybe the 1950s and before. You had to go through the father and all of that type of stuff. Now it's kind of, the society is kind of collapsed because you don't do that, right? The women are, real masculine, and man act like men, uh um women with pants, right? Men with vaginas, but the thing is that, and those are societal issues, those are social issues, social engineering issues, society issues. Now, those are a problem. I'm not going to say that they're not, that those things are not a problem. Those things are definitely problematic, because you do have people that have a lot of money, but they don't really have a surplus of women to choose from in this country. So they do have a surplus of financial resources, but they in a country, or maybe even they might even be themselves kind of socially awkward. They're not, um they got weight issues, or they look a certain way and it's not really appealing to women. The way they talk, the way they act is not really appealing to women in the United States. So they would have to go to most likely another country, right? So I mean, that's one aspect of it. But you I mean, the thing is that it is a factor. I will say it is a factor, right? But it's more of a factor of it's more of a problem of actually uh gaining certain type of financial uh footing or success than going to a bar or going out and trying to, you know basically find a woman to get in a relationship with, or finding a woman that you want to, whatever you want to do with her, like that's not that difficult. you know it's probably even a numbers game if you're able to take rejection. Probably the hard part of that is being rejected. If you're able to deal with rejection, you could probably, within a week, a month, maybe even a couple days, have some woman that you're talking to, that you're in a relationship with or something. You can have that, can happen fast. Can't go in a bank and spit some game and get a fucking mortgage, or get a loan, get some money, from a bank. That's a little bit harder, a lot harder actually. And that's what I'm talking about. So I deal with hard problems. That's generally what I deal with and what I talk about. The easy problems, the easier problems, I let other people deal with that. You know, and the thing is though, the problem is, it's not like you have a bunch of people with a whole bunch of money and then all of a sudden they just got relationship problems. I would even say, and I've said this before, I have had entire live streams about this. Some of the reasons why people are having problems with relationships is because they're having financial problems. A lot of the reason why people are in a relationship with a particular woman And even vice versa for the woman with the man is because that person fits some type of criteria that basically is probably in their they share some type of financial class. Usually couples, they share the same financial class. And if you had probably a higher class, you probably have a different woman. The woman that you be choosing might be different, because you might be living uh, in a different location or whatever. You might frequent different places. So the thing is that the harder issue to solve is the financial issue. And a lot of Americans have financial issues. Okay, and this is what makes the a lot of these Brokians. Okay, Brokians are manufactured, from our parents. Our parents manufactured us, and we carried. They were broke, and we carried on their same habits and value systems. And then we dealt with it, and we now we're the new Brokians, right? The next generation of Brokians. And the thing is that you have to figure out, just like you look at relationships, how to figure that out. You have to figure this out. And it's easier because it ain't no woman putting up no, giving you no hard times or anything like that. It's just having some type of strategy. Okay. Mindset, money management, momentum, having some type of way to make money that is consistent, and rinse and repeat, and keep going, till your bank account looks like a phone number. Okay. Then you probably gonna have you probably at that point you could drive whatever car your cats you know that you want to drive, and then women to start probably giving you their phone number. You probably, I mean, if you look like a decent guy, right? You're a decent looking guy, and okay, let's just say, you know, you've achieved a certain level of financial success because you bought the millionaire savings plan, from um from the recommended by the broke genius, and then now your bank account looks like a phone number. And you already was a decent guy. You had some issues with women, but you ain't really had no problem, with women looking at you, whatever. You go buy you a Porsche 911 because your bank account looks like a phone number. Well, that reality is a lot different than most people, because most people don't drive Porsche 911s. So you coming out the Porsche 911, me coming out the Porsche 911, I might have some tripped out situations where a woman will come up to me and then give me her number. I can see it because you already look good. You have a car that looks good. Women love cars, right? That look good, right? And it's like to them, it's like a double bonus. A guy that I am attracted to with the car that I like probably got some money, blah blah blah. You know, you're more attractive, right? Because women like resources. They like men that have resources. You know, not to say that that all women deserve men with resources, but they like them. Okay, so I mean, the whole point is, okay, it it might be better for you, or it might not be that different depending on the circumstances. If you work on your financial situation to where your bank account looks like a phone number, you know what's a phone number? Um, it's 6 digits plus four, 10 digits. That's basically 100. I think that's $100 million. you know, 10 figures, 6 figures is 100,000. Yeah, 100 millionaire. Yeah, your bank account start looking like a phone number. To the different things will probably your reality will be a lot different than the average person, most likely, depending on how you are, as a man or whatever. I know women struggle with that too, because you got women that are kicking ass. They're making money. You got some women can, they can make money. I would say that women tend to be able to, women technically, theoretically, can easily or easier, it's easier for women to make money, make, like, let's just say, if I had to put a man, uh making, okay, a competition between a man making the fastest to 1 million, a man or a woman, hands down, in my opinion, a woman can make it faster, because women are very, very desirable. Obviously, they wanted to be like really black pill with it. They could just, like, obviously, sell, what, right? They look good. They could just, do the whole OnlyFans thing, right? There you go, boom, right there. And it's just one thing, OnlyFans. There you go. Then if they, do some other stuff, like maybe work at a strip club or whatever. There you go, right there. Now, some of them, they can't, the strip club thing is a little different, because a lot of them women can't do that, because the strip club stuff is a little bit more, it's it's like gambling in a casino or gambling on an app or something. Like, when you actually go to a casino, you're going around other people, and all of these people have a certain level of energy, and you're surrounded by these people, and it's not necessarily all good energy or all bad, but I'll just say it's more bad energy than good, and you have to absorb that energy. You have to be around that energy when you go to a casino, and you're trying to make money. You got loud music and people smoking and all kinds of distractions, right? That's kind of like, and even worse, that's kind of like the strip club. So it's a lot of stuff to endure for women. That's why women that work at strip clubs, a lot of them use drugs and alcohol to suppress them to actually do that work. Because you basically got people that you got basically you got to basically walk around dressed naked, and dance for strangers that are looking at you, and you got, I mean, it's, and then also, if you're doing other stuff. So it's like, yeah, for women, because women, the desirability of women being able to sell themselves, and they can make money fast, and a lot of it relatively quick. And everybody, society, is, especially in America, because we basically live in like a heavily simp led society. This society in America is very simp, um pro simp, or just, let's just say, it's a lot of simps in the West, in America. Because a simp is basically a thirsty man. That's not just what a simp is, but the basis of what makes a simp is a thirsty man. A man that's more thirsty, um than what he should be, right? So because there's so many thirsty men, it's opportunity for women to make money off of these men. And even I would even say women, right? So because of that, um, you got basically women can make a lot of money. A woman could be a fucking realtor and make more money because it just people desire people women are more desirable. They have the ability to use their feminine wiles to entice people to spend money. So that's a thing, right? And basically in short, a woman could just she can just get with a rich man. A woman can get with a rich man tomorrow, and then all of a sudden she's rich. That's why women act the way they do. They just kind of float on in society and just, almost like carefree and everything. Because at the end of the day, especially a woman that looks good, and I'm talking about from head to toe, when she got, you know, I call them, I call them, what do I call them? Like Fantastic Fours. Not so much four in the face, but not even so much Fantastic Four, but um I call them just I'll just say quadruple doubles. Okay. So women have four things. They have a beautiful face, possible a beautiful face, breasts, ass, titties. That's four things. It's rare for a woman to have four things. A big ass, big titty. A lot of women pay. That's why plastic surgery is booming. Plastic surgeons are probably making records amounts of money because it's very rare for a woman to naturally have a beautiful face, big, big breastises, ass, you know, um, I said four things. Yeah. I forgot the the vagina, the pussy, like decent tight pussy, right? Or even juicy, whatever. Those four things are rare for a woman to have all four of those things. And when a woman is rare like that, like usually she's the apple of every eye, every man that sees her, right? Even women, right? Those women, they know that they can get a wealthy guy. They might not want to get a wealthy guy or even know how to get a wealthy guy. That's where, to a certain extent, pimps come in, but not necessarily ideally. That's not, because it's not going to help her in the long run. It's not going to help her. It's going to obviously help the pimp more than anything. But the thing is that that woman knows that she can get a wealthy guy, and then she doesn't have to do OnlyFans. She doesn't have to do anything. She just get that wealthy man, and then that's it. She's wealthy now. She's got that wealthy man. She's also automatically, because being attached to that wealthy man, she's already wealthy. Just like that. She could just wake up, go to the club, meet that wealth. That's why women they're talking, keep talking about this whole I need this money, you gotta have this money and all, because they know this. They don't want to, women don't want to go to work and do all these other things and stuff like that either. But a lot of the women, they want this. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're gonna get a wealthy man. And a lot of times what happens is the women, they they might be able to get the wealthy man for a period of time, but they can't keep that man because they just have flaws. They have imperfections that is unattractive. And then also they just a lot of women don't know how to keep men in general. And it doesn't matter if the man is wealthy or rich. They can't keep them because they don't know how to. They don't know how to keep any man a lot of times. So the thing is, my whole point is, yeah, women can have the possibility to get wealthy and rich a lot quicker and easier than men. Okay. That's why, it's important for men to not too much worry about women. The less you worry about women, the better, because you're wasting time worrying about something that women are abundant. I mean, like literally, like you know, I'm not saying women aren't valuable, but they're also abundant. Okay, I mean, um it's not like women are in short supply. Okay, and it's like to worry about women that you don't one that don't already have is it's just it's not worth the time. It's not it's wasted energy. I mean, biologically, we can't necessarily all the time control those urges. Those urges are natural, and you gonna yearn for women, right? Unless you're, somebody else or whatever. But the thing is that, you know, it's a lot easier for women to get what they want out of life, financially speaking, because they are women than men. You know, a lot of times it's so bad, especially now. I've been noticing this for like most of my life, especially when I got older. I'll see a woman that probably, let's just say, is either a triple double or a quadruple double. And I'm speaking basketball terminology. A quadruple, in case you didn't know, a triple double is, or a double double is either rebound. Basically, I'll just break down a quadruple double. Quadruple double in basketball terms is rebounds, assists, points, um, and let's just say steals or something like that. You actually have the potential to actually have in basketball. You have the potential to actually have like after four, quad is five, which is um I forgot what they would I forgot that what they would call that. But basically all in the stat line, let's just go with quadruple double. You would have points, rebound, assists, and let's just say all of those are 10, an increment of 10 or more. So more than 10 points, more than 10 rebounds, or 10 rebounds, 10 assists, 10 steals, and for five, you'll be 10 blocks. Actually, a lot of women, there's some women that actually achieve this playing NCAA basketball. They have like quadruple doubles, like because I don't know. I'm not gonna go into that. They just do. Okay. Um, but the thing is that yeah, it's just it's always is like that. Like because women are just women, believe it or not, to a certain extent, are more valuable than men in many regards, and women and men seek out women like that. Like and it's just a lot of times women they don't necessarily desire the rich man. or wealthy man. You know, they might want his resources and everything, but they don't really truly desire that man. So they can't keep him. It's hard to keep a man that they don't want in the first place. They only just want the money, right? So, you know, a lot of times that's why they'll just be sugar babies, which is stupid, you know, because it's kind of like for a woman to be a sugar baby, she's basically whoring herself out without a pimp. She's just basically saying, just give me, just give me $1,500 a month and we'll fuck every week, once a week, or I'll, you know, if I'm on my period and then you just do it the following month or whatever. Like that's what they'll do. And it's stupid because it's like, why get crumbs when you can get you get most of the pie? And this is the thing that I don't understand even about prostitutes. Why get crumbs when you can get most of the pie or get all of the pie? Guys, he's worth over $100 million, $10 million, whatever. You just want $1,500 a month so you can pay your bills, and it's dumb, you know. And that's why fathers exist. That's why fathers existed, because fathers wouldn't know about fathers basically were the daughter's pimp, and they served the best interest for their woman, which is their for the woman, which is their daughter. So they knew enough that they wouldn't just give their daughter away for some long term, you know, or temporary um fixed income or something for their daughter to be plowed every week or every month or whatever. Fathers wouldn't accept that arrangement, because fathers knew, even fathers 1,000 years ago, they knew it's better for my daughter to have most of the pie instead of just crumbs, pie crumbs. You know, so it's like basically, um, you know, I went off, you know, into the weeds a little bit, but the whole point is, um, this society has very few people that have bank accounts like phone numbers or even addresses. You know, it doesn't have that many. It is very much gate kept. It's very controlled and programmed and propagandized, aka brainwashing. And that brainwashing um, brainwashes people to believe that they have to just work and be consumer slaves and consumer debt slaves. And then maybe they might hit the lottery to escape. But most likely they know that the odds are, you know, really against them actually winning the lottery. What I know about the lottery now as a 40 something year old man versus when I was younger, I can't remember the last time I played the lottery. What I've heard about the lottery now is like almost 10 for a hat type like 10 for a hat type talk about what I know about the lottery now. And the last thing that I learned about the lottery, I would have to do a 10 for a hat talk to talk about it. That is when, like, what I learned last about the lottery, it totally killed the idea of me ever playing the lottery. Like I haven't, I used to like play the lottery every now and again, like the big jackpots, the Powerball, the Mega Million. I heard something that, and I've already learned, I already figured stuff out about the lottery, or read stuff about it or whatever. But what I know about it, at least what I heard about it now, like the last thing I heard about it, like I ain't played since. I don't even play the jackpots or nothing. I don't even worried about the lottery. And I'm not gonna talk about it because it's like I don't even want to even talk about it. I like I say, I'd have to do a tip for a hat to talk discussion to talk about what I heard about the lottery. That's how bad it is. But the thing is that's what people have been programmed and propagandized to believe, that they can't compete outside of that formula. Work hard, spend money, even to the point where you like check to check, you're a debt slave, and then the only hope possibly I might win the lottery, or maybe my wife might win the lottery, or my girlfriend, or maybe my parents before they die might win the lottery. Like that's what people are programmed to believe. And what I'm trying to re or you know unpropagandize to you is, you can circumvent this. You have to have a plan, you have to have a strategy, and you have to be serious about it, and you have to stick to it. You have to be almost second nature to you, and you can overcome this broken brainwashing propaganda that is being pushed on you and was pushed on your parents. It's not easy. Even myself, which at one time was a Brokian, is hard for me. I'm still in it right now. It's not easy, but it is possible. Very, very possible. And it basically, you can, like I say, the first $100,000 is the hardest. Once you get past $100,000, it's just 10, it's just basically 10 steps, or 10, 10 times more to get to $1 million. Okay. And you should, and you don't stop after that. Okay. But the trick is, you have to get to 100,000. I wouldn't even, if you don't have at least, if you don't have like 50,000 or 20,000, I would just, focus on 10,000. And then once you get 10,000, try to work from that to get to 20,000, 40, 50, to eventually 100,000. And then try to, keep going. But it's going to be hard for you to do that when you have the mindset and propaganda, that and the brainwashing to just keep living check to check. Now, I'm going to leave you with my website, because everybody probably needs help. I would say people will need help. Reach out to me on this website. Hit the if you're having issues with like believing that this can actually be achievable, and you want to talk more about it, hit the link, consult me on this website here, brokegeniuses.com. whatever you need, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever. We can talk about where your self-limiting beliefs are, or you know, the wherever the imposter syndrome that you have about this. We can tackle it on the phone, or if you want to do Zoom, if you want to, whatever modes of communication you're comfortable with. We can even do a fucking live stream. I don't care. Whatever you're comfortable with. And we can parse these things out and talk about it, and even come up with some type of plan so you can be on the right track to basically getting out of, living check to check, renting. I don't care what it is. Like, we can come up with some type of strategy, some type of plan. If you need more time, you need more time. Let's you deal with that later. And you can get out of this Brokian lifestyle, the Brokian mindset, because this is definitely a mindset issue. It wouldn't be a mindset. It starts and ends with the mindset right there. Like, because it's no way, you know, if someone would have told me this information that I'm telling you 20 years ago, 30 years ago, that I would still be, you know, having the issues that I had to getting to this point, where I'm, trying to, help you. Like, if someone would have told me 20, 30 years ago, I would be much more ahead than everyone else, because I had to break away from my parents. I had to look at my parents just for what it is. Like, my parents, they had to deal with certain struggles from their parents, and it's just like like a cycle. And it's a battle. It's a battle of the mind. It starts with the mind. Self-limiting beliefs, imposter syndrome. A lot of people have self-limiting beliefs and imposter syndrome about being rich and wealthy. They don't believe that they can actually be rich and wealthy. And again, I'm not talking about race. This is universal. Red, white, and blue. Star Spangled Banner. It's everybody. This is evergreen content as well. Because people have been brainwashed and especially, I'll talk about race, especially black people. You know why? Tell me a show right now that you watch on TV that the people in the show, they're millionaires, they're black, and they're not selling drugs. They're not involved in any type of illegal activities. They're not like they have a front, they have a business, they got legal business, and it's just a front. And then they're doing, illegal stuff in the back, right? Or behind the scenes, or they're involved in the black market. Name me a show. Tell me a show so I can watch it. That's not Power Book, Power this. What is it? What's that shit that come on BET? Black something, Black Beauty. It's propaganda. It's like they want a young, impressionable young black boy and girl to believe that in America is so difficult. You have to be in the black market in order to in order to become rich in this country. That is what those movies like American Gangster and, you know um all of these shows like Power Book, any show that you can think of, that is propaganda towards marketed towards black people to believe that you have to do illegal activities to make money in this country. And that's why a lot of black people have self-limiting beliefs. Not just saying just black people have that, everybody has that in some degree or another. But a lot of black people have self-limiting beliefs, imposter syndrome regarding the fact or the concept and the idea of being wealthy in America or anywhere, because the brainwashing and the propaganda is being pushed to the point where these are the portrayals of black people that are millionaires and rich. This is what they're doing. So it's programming you to believe this is what you have to do in order to become a millionaire or better. Yeah, it's heavily pushed. It's pushed so heavy. I mean, you have various shows of people that in white America, the portrayals of white Americans making money and being rich, and it's legal. It's no chicanery or black market activities or anything like that. You have plenty of examples of that, of shows like that. But black shows, everybody selling drugs, everybody involved in illegal activities. That's how they made their money. That's how they got rich. So it's propaganda, it's brainwashing to believe that it's that hard in order for you to achieve some type of financial success, uber financial success. You have to be involved in some type of black market activities in order to achieve that. So that's just something for you to think about. And I'm just telling you, it's serious, very, very serious, right? Serious as cancer, and because this system is serious. I do agree. You should laugh at it, and you should, and it is funny. I was taking out the garbage in the bathroom. Like, yeah, it is funny and comical that they portray black men as being the criminals, and I can't name you one black person. Even Hush Puppy, the Nigerian scammer, think what did he take, like $2 million, maybe 20 million. Sam Blankman Fried, I'll just name off the people that I can remember. Sam Blankman Friedman, $8 billion stolen from his business and basically account holders of FTX. Elizabeth Holmes started the defunct scam startup. I think it was Theranos, I believe. $50 billion from investors and potential investors and people that invested in that company. Bernie Madoff, over $200 billion stolen from various clients. President of executive vice president of NASDAQ. Before he died, he allegedly said all of this is based off of a Ponzi scheme. $200 billion gone. Old white folks retirement gone. They only was able to get a fraction of what a little proceeds that they got from the government seizing off assets, that whatever was left over from um, any available assets that he had before he died. He died in prison. Or at least that's what they say. So, yeah, It's nobody that I can think of, and I'm 45 years old. It's no black man or woman that I know of that have stolen 500 billion dollars, 200 billion dollars, 100 billion dollars, 10 billion dollars. I can't even think of nobody that took $1 billion. Maybe like a president of a country or some shit in Africa or something. But I've never heard of anything of such. Um, but the whole point is basically this system is heavily controlled. This economic system is heavily controlled. That's why it feels so hard. That's why it is so difficult. And I challenge you to look at it as serious as such. Look at like you trying to overcome stage 4 cancer. And then I'll try myself. I mean, I'm already trying. I'm doing some things. Okay. I'm working with some things. Like I say, um, look at it as serious, you know, and I'm probably the only one of few that actually even talk about issues like this. And I'm probably one of the most thorough and the most down to earth and, basically um even down home that relates to you from maybe a urban aspect of it, the way I talk, the way I speak, and even my origins. My origin story is a black boy from the ghetto, that moved out of the ghetto, as a little boy with my parents and moved to the suburbs. But I'm relatable. I'm more probably the most relatable, um and not too many people are talking about this. And these are the issues. These are the issues that affect your children, your grandchildren, that affect you on a day-to-day basis. And nobody really wants to talk about it because they're broken. Brokians don't. I'll be honest. If I walked out of my house, and I went to talk to people, and I called them a Brokian, I probably get shot. At the least, I'll have several altercations. I'll be walking around here leaking and lumped on, looking having a lump face like Aaron the plumber. Basically, I'll be going out catching fades if I'm lucky. Because I mean, Chicago, people have lost their life for less. If I went out here and I called people Brokians, hey Brokian, what's up, man? Huh? What you say? All right, I got a Brokian for you. They pull out their Glock with a switch and light my ass on, light me up, like a candle, or some shit. Like people are ashamed and embarrassed by this, the fact that people are broke. They might even be broke. And I'm just saying, I'm just stating the obvious. But how I said it, how I delivered it, it was just not the right way of delivering it. Okay. The internet to a certain extent is a safe place. I'm not gonna, hands down, it is a safe place. Now, I didn't come on here with the tone of some people, that's the way they talk. I didn't come on this live stream and say, man, fuck all you little Brokians, you little bum ass Brokians, you little dumb fucking broken. I didn't say that. That wasn't the tone of my language. The tone of my language was as of someone that has dealt with this issue, has been this person, know why it is as such, know the origin of it, the history behind it, the, the actuality of it, why this, exists. I broke it down like a science. I didn't come off of, trying to dehumanize or talk about someone because I know this is, a sensitive situation and I've dealt with this myself. It might be comical to a certain extent, yes. You know, but the thing is that people are not happy to be broke. They absolutely are embarrassed by it. So people don't want to talk about it. Other people in other channels, they don't want to be like, hey, I'm this relationship guy that talks about relationships, but hey, you know what? I'm a Brokian. At the end of the day, I gotta be honest with you. I really don't make that much off of this channel. I make a little bit of money, but I'm really, to be honest, I'm a Brokian. And I just talk about relationship shit because I really should be talking about financial stuff, but I'm a whole Brokian, and you know, I just don't want to talk about it because I'm embarrassed by the fact that I'm actually broke. And I just come on here and I talk about relationship talk and other bullshit because it's really a combination of cope and it's what people want to listen to. And then I get, people, when I talk, if I did talk about financial stuff, people don't really want to talk about it. I might have one live viewer or zero live viewers, that type of thing. And I get it, but that's, again, black people's problems are relationship oriented, but it's not the worst problem that we have. Black people, or even I would even say everybody's issue. Relationships is not it's not um like if you had to categorize it as far as like what's more worse, people's financials issues or their relationships, or I would even say two of the same two things could be true at the same time. But I would say wholeheartedly that financial issues are way worse than relationship issues. And I would even say, again, the reason why a lot of people are having relationship issues is because of the financial issues. You know what I'm saying? So they're kind of related to a certain degree. But again, I talk about it. It is one of my passions. I talk about it because it's a problem, and I continue to talk about it, because I don't care if I catch one person. If I can get to and reach one person, that's, man, I'm batting 1,000, because that person is going to have a better situation for themselves. Their children going to have a better situation for themselves, their family, their grandchildren. You know, um, you can have the greatest relationship and live in a mobile home. It's people. I'm from Chicago. I live, like I say, when I left Chicago, we used to live right down the street from the projects. It was probably people that had successful relationships, very cohesive, loving relationships, living in the projects. So, you know, I'll just leave you with that. Have a good Saturday or Friday. You know, um, you know, don't kill them leftovers too hard. Leave some, for everybody else. I didn't get any Thanksgiving dinner, because place where I was gonna go, my family, they had COVID. People still catching COVID in 2025. So I ain't get shit. But, just the thought of some macaroni and cheese and turkey or whatever the hell, and all the fixings. So yeah, pretty somber Thanksgiving for me. I've had this happen before. I've had moments, and any other single guy that's probably a loner, they probably miss some Thanksgivings, once or twice in their life for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll be honest, like, I've even had moments where and I know you've had this too, probably some people. I've had moments where I've had broke birthdays where I really didn't even do nothing the whole fucking day. And I was kind of pissed off and a little probably sad because it's my birthday and I ain't, it's like, okay, still had to work and didn't really have no money to do shit. And I just stayed at home. So I mean, it happens, man. But at the end of the day, you know, you think about you if you do have achieved some type of financial success, you'll think about probably days like that and you'll laugh, while you in business class, going, to Santorini, Greece with your 25-year-old fiance. I mean, I don't know, man, or something like that, man. I don't know. Just had to leave you something positive. Anyways, have a good Friday. Um, if you need help, don't be afraid to reach out to me.